My name is James Lynch, and this is the stock report for UFC 307, talking about the biggest winners and losers from the event. And this was an interesting card to do the stock report. You know, a lot of times it's very obvious. I know people give me some flack saying, oh, you're just picking the winners and losers, but I have a bunch of different theories on my stock picks for this one. So my biggest stock riser on this card, and again, the thumbnail always gives it away, was Joaquin Buckley. Now, look, I don't think Buckley won the first round of this fight, but he's one of the few guys that finished Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I know he was a betting favorite going in. You see minus 225, but how many guys have knocked out Stephen Thompson? I know Shavkat submitted him. You have to go all the way back to that Superman punch that Anthony Pettis landed. It was the last time Stephen Wonderboy Thompson was knocked out in a fight. It's impressive. Buckley, nice win streak now. He was, and the other thing with Buckley that we got to factor in the stock report is, what was this call out like last time? Not so good. The call out this time, Kamaru Usman, great call out. Usman isn't booked. Usman is, yes, ranked a lot higher, but he also doesn't have a dance partner. I think Buckley, finishing Wonderboy, has secured himself a potential fight with Usman. I think that's a realistic fight. If you remember, Usman wanted to fight Wonderboy. Remember, there was talks of that a while back. Wonderboy just got beat by Buckley. I think that makes total sense. And I think Buckley, I think his stock definitely went up. I mean, you know, there was a point when Buckley's stock was very low, where, he had the bad post-fight speech, like I mentioned. He was going after GSP and other legends on Twitter. And, the whole thing with DC. And I think this, he squashed the beef with DC this week, gets a knockout win over Wonderboy. And now he's, I think, a contender at this point at 170 with the win streak he's on. He's won 5 in a row now in the weight class, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, yeah, Feely, was welterweight as well. So that's 5 straight, 2 ranked wins over Luque and Thompson. Very good position here for Buckley. So to me, Joaquin Buckley, the biggest stock riser on this card. Okay, my second biggest stock riser. This may be a bit of a surprise, and some people maybe would have even put this person in the top spot. I'm going to throw a little wild card at you guys here. Khalil Rountree. I think there's even an argument that Khalil Rountree could have been the biggest stock riser on this card. And I know what you're going to say. James, he got knocked out. He lost. He got finished in the 4th round. Nobody expected this. Barely anyone. Outside of Khalil Rountree's family and his fans, I don't think anyone expected this. He was a plus 360 underdog. I didn't see anyone give him a chance. The pros picks video as I did, not that they're the be-all end-all. I don't think anyone voted for him. I think there was maybe one person. I mean, he wasn't supposed to get this title shot, and he looked good. He, especially early on, he, even got a couple shots in on Pereira. Now, one thing I will say is I don't think he hurt Pereira at all in this fight. Yes, he did tag Pereira, but I don't think Pereira was in any danger, but he certainly made it interesting, and it certainly woke the crowd up because I think, prior to that fight, some of these fights weren't that good tonight. I think people are going to always remember this fight because of the fact that Khalil made it at least somewhat interesting. I think most people watching this fight at home thought Pereira was going to go and get another quick finish, and that didn't happen. It came a little bit later, and I think Rountree stock went up big time. Like, I don't know where he goes from here, but I think fans want to see him fight some of the names out there. I even heard people tonight talk about rebooking the Jamal Hill fight. I think there's a case for that. I mean, he's going to need some time off for sure. After that, I think Hill will probably want to fight sooner than that, but that's a more intriguing fight down the line. I even had people tonight being like, he thinks, they could beat Jamal Hill or Yuri or any of these other guys because he technically did better against them or against Pereira than those guys did. But yeah, Khalil Rountree to me has to be a stock riser here. Looked great, surprised everyone. Good post-fight speech too. His stock definitely went up tonight as well. Okay, this is one where people are going to disagree with me, but we just have to talk about the reality of what happened. Juliana Pena, her stock went up. It had to have. She won the fight. I'm seeing a lot of people calling robbery, and if you want to watch my post-fight show, it's up there right now. I gave my thoughts on that fight. I don't think it's a robbery. I think it was a very close fight that just happened to go Pena's way. But at the end of the day, she's the 2-time champ at bantamweight. She gets it done. She was an underdog here. Her stock has to go up. Was it the most entertaining fight? No. Did I love her post-fight speech talking about Amanda Nunes again? No. Why doesn't she talk about Kayla Harrison? We know that's going to be the next fight. I highly doubt Nunes is coming out of retirement. And I know people say she's shooting her shot. I disagree. Kayla's next. If there was no Kayla and she did that, I'd feel a little bit better just because then it's like, okay, well, there's no one like super appealing. Like calling out Norma Dumont or Macy Chasson's not going to do much. But like you already had a good back and forth with Kayla at the presser. Extend that. Make this a thing. She didn't mention Kayla at all. And I know some people are like, as well, like, oh, well, she's just trying to throw shade at Kayla by not saying anything. I think that looks worse. So I would have had Pena even a bit higher on here, but, I just think the post-fight speech wasn't good, but she won. At the end of the day, she won. Whether you thought she won or not, she still got the title. She has to be a stock riser here because she's the current champion. and the fact that she'll get this big fight with Kayla Harrison, which is going to be an interesting fight in the division. So Pena's stock had to have gone up. Okay, honorable mentions. This is where things get a little bit interesting. I mean, we got to mention Pereira winning. His stock, I don't think his stock went up, though, because like he was supposed to win this fight. He won by knockout. It was kind of expected with Pereira. So he'll get the honorable mention. I'm not putting him in the top 3. Some of you probably will. Some of you are super fans of Pereira that are going to argue that he should be in the number 1 spot. I'm not there. Sorry. Hate to disappoint. The other honorable mention has to be Kayla Harrison. You know, not an easy fight for her. She gets it done. You know, looked a little human tonight, but that's okay. She's still relatively young in her UFC career. And I was okay with that. But again, she's going to get a title shot next. All she had to do was win the fight. She won the fight. Her stock goes up. And then the other one, and again, I can already see people grinding their teeth at me mentioning this, but look, at the end of the day, Mario Batista got to win over Jose Aldo. Whether you thought he won or not, whether you liked his style of pressing Aldo against the cage, that's all irrelevant. He is now beaten, one of the few guys who has beaten Jose Aldo, and he's 31 years old. This is a training partner of Sean O'Malley's. You know, he's going to get a big fight after this. And even Anik on the broadcast was mentioning, like, a main event. I agree. You could do the rematch with Corey Sandhagen. There's lots of options for him now, but that was a huge win for Mario Batista that can't be overlooked. He gets honorable mentions as well. And yeah, that's pretty much all we have for the stock risers. Stock droppers. Okay. Again, people are going to be upset with this one. You already know what it is if you've seen the thumbnail. It's Raquel Pennington now. Listen, I thought Raquel won the fight. I thought it was close. I don't have an issue with, you know, Pena getting the decision. I did see the media scorecards and MMA decisions, and pretty much I think everyone except for one person thought that Pennington won that fight. That's fair. So you're probably thinking like, well, James, like her stock couldn't have gone down. The reason her stock goes down is 2 things. Number one, she did lose the belt. So, you know, nothing we can do about that. Judges or not, she lost the belt. She's 36. It's not like she's young. And then the other thing too is she didn't look very good on the ground tonight. I was a bit surprised by that. I don't know how you guys felt, whether it was well, no, it could have been the elevation because she trains in Colorado. I just thought for a UFC champion to look the way she did on the ground and like, yes, she survived the submission attempts from Pena, didn't look so good. So just from the standpoint of like, people already don't like women's bantamweight. She's not the champion. People didn't find the fight exciting. Her stock has to drop the most on this card, I think, because she was favored to win. She didn't win and she's not the champion. So therefore her stock has to drop. So she is going to definitely be the biggest stock dropper as well. Okay. Other stock droppers on this card. This one I was kind of debating putting on here, and again we can discuss this in the comments. Kevin Holland, I think prior to him hurting his rib, I mean, look, a hurt rib is a freak thing, it happens. I think Dolidze was still looking a little bit better in there, and you know, at the end of the day, it's a loss for him at middleweight, and it, you know, this was a good opportunity for him to move ahead. At the end of the day, you know, weight class or not, he's lost 3 of his last 4. That's not good. And I know, again, rib injury, freak thing, it happens, but you know, this is a fight, again, he was supposed to win, and he gets the rib injury. So he was one of the few favorites on this card who ended up losing. So you have to put him on here as a stock dropper as well. I was debating between him and Stephen Thompson. Stephen Thompson was not favored to win his fight, so that's why I put him behind Kevin Holland. But he got finished. So, I mean, at this point, like, you could at least have used the argument with Wonderboy that, hey, he's losing to some of the best guys. Like, Burns, highly ranked. Bilal's the champ. Beat Kevin Holland. Lost to Shavkat, who's probably fighting for the belt next. You don't have that excuse anymore. He loses to Buckley, who is ranked much lower, and he gets knocked out. His stock has to drop here. I mean, someone said, don't you think Thompson is no longer a contender? I didn't think he was a contender when he lost to Bilal, basically, because he had lost 2 in a row, and at his age, trying to work a win streak back up is going to be pretty difficult. Then he gets finished by Shavkat. Like, I think the question is now, like, are we going to see more fights like this where he gets finished? Because if he does, then the retirement's going to come sooner than we think. And listen, one of the nicest guys in the sport. I hope he has a long career, but yeah, I just like if this is a sign of things to come, we might see Thompson start to get, you know, the body breaks down. It just happens. So he's got to be put there as well. And then I got to mention this too. And again, people will disagree on this one, but you know, Jose Aldo, I know he's the underdog in this fight. I know people felt like he won, but at the end of the day, he's lost. He's now 1-1 since his UFC return. This is a big blow to him. If he won, you could have done the following fights. You could have done him and O'Malley. You could have done him and Corey Sandhagen. There was just so many big fights that could have happened after this. I guess you could still do him and O'Malley because technically they're coming off losses, but I just think it was a missed opportunity for him to win this fight. Again, I thought he was going to win, even despite what the odds said. But at his age, at 38, if he wants to go on any sort of title run, you can't be losing any fights. And so at the end of the day, while if you thought he won or he didn't, he still ended up losing here. And because of his age and where he's at right now, it's going to be pretty hard for him to work his way back to a title shot. So those are my picks. Let's go over them quickly one more time. Biggest stock risers: Joaquin Buckley, Khalil Roundtree, Juliana Pena. Honorable mentions to Alex Pereira, Kayla Harrison, and Mario Batista. And then stock droppers were Raquel Pennington, Kevin Holland, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and honorable mentions go to Jose Aldo. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. I want to hear your 3 biggest stock risers and 3 biggest stock droppers. No need to criticize my picks. I just want to hear what your picks are, and we can debate that. That's a lot more fun because it's very easy to say something sucks or you don't like it as opposed to giving me your solutions. I want to hear those. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch, and I'll talk to you guys soon.